What's up, you amazing people? I hope you're having a fantastic day. You are, of course, watching and listening to the Daily Dirty 30, also known as the DDT, here on The Kevin Lee Show. And I am your host, Kevin Lee. Now, for those of you who do not know what the DDT is all about, let me take a moment to explain. You see, it's a show that airs live at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, and it's where I get to spend 30 minutes telling you, the viewer, all about the things that bother me today. What do I get out of it? It's easy. It's therapeutic. Why should you tune in? That's even easier. It's entertaining. Sound like a fair trade? Good. Let's get to it. What's up, you beautiful people? Happy Tuesday. Yay, I got it right. Happy Tuesday, everybody. We actually kind of almost made it on time, so kudos to us. Have you ever had a day where you just had some technical difficulties and you keep thinking that everything's going to be fine, and then the moment comes and all of a sudden everything just craps out on you? Yeah, that's kind of what today's been. But that's okay, because you know what? We're here. We made it, and I'm happy about that. So happy Tuesday, everybody. Of course, where are you? Well, you are watching the Daily Dirty 30 here on The Kevin Lee Show. This is a show that airs every Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and it runs about a half an hour. Of course, I am your host, Kevin, and today we have a problem. And it's not the technical difficulty part. That's actually solved. So we got that part done, at least for today. Hopefully, unless my camera craps out on me again. Anyways, no, but seriously, we do have a problem. And I had a whole thing, because I know I kind of, if you watched the show last night, you probably saw that I talked about today would probably be a normal day. We would get back to doing headlines. Everything would be normal. And here we are. So I had gotten an entire day and I set up a whole bunch of cool stuff to show and all these things. And all of a sudden, someone's kept nagging at me all day and I couldn't figure out what it was. I realized that a lot of the stories that I was checking out and looking into, they all kind of had a theme. And the theme is that we have a problem. And the problem is us. Right, us. You, me, and the person next to you. We're all the problem. Let me probably clarify that just a little bit. The reason why we have a problem, or we are the problem, is because we have allowed our country to become what it is. A big heaping pile of fill in the blank. And not just because of all the terrible things that are going on with the violence and the riots. I mean, that is absolutely bad enough. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our country is so out of control in every aspect. Can you name anything that makes sense? Can you make anything that seems good? Just name one thing. I mean, truly. I mean, I don't typically respond to comments and check on them during a broadcast, but if you want to go ahead and comment, go ahead, because I bet you won't come up with one thing. I mean, I'm not talking about something personal. I mean, you might have something great in your life. You might have just fallen in love. You might be a newlywed. You might be a new parent. You might have just gotten a new job. You might have, finally accomplished something you wanted to accomplish. I'm not talking about your personal life. I'm talking about the life of the United States, us as a collective whole. We're not in good shape. We're not in good shape at all. And well, let me kind of back up just a little bit. So I no idea what's going on here. I was born in the 70s. I was raised in the 80s, and I came of age in the 90s, and we're talking a few decades down the road now. And frankly, I'm not happy with the world we're living in. Now, I'm not saying that we had magical times when I was a child, but things were different, sure. And probably mostly for the better, sure. But that's not even the point. The point is that we have come to a point in our existence where we can't stop growing our government. For some reason, every time we run into a problem, the first thing everyone suggests publicly, may it be from a politician, may it be from a news anchor, may it be from a celebrity, the solution always seems to be more government, bigger programs, more money. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't fix a damn thing. Now, don't be wrong. Sometimes there's an emergency and you need an emergency fund to fix something. That makes sense. It's kind of like what we had here with the whole COVID thing. Everyone just found themselves with their feet cut out from underneath them. Everyone was panicking. Everyone was crazily running around trying to figure out how to get food, how to do everything, because all of a sudden your job was gone. You couldn't work. You couldn't do anything. And unless you got an unemployment, you were screwed, right? So I understand like the government kind of stepping in for a little one-time thing like that. That's not the biggest deal that I have. It's the issue that we have so many programs that pay people to not work, to pay people, and sometimes people can't work. Don't get me wrong. There's always those cases. I'm not disagreeing with that in any way, shape, or form. Those people exist, and I feel sorry for them. And I'm not saying government's the solution in any way, but I understand why someone would do that. But we have things that just aren't solvent, things that we can't get to work. They just don't work. For instance, Social Security doesn't work. We want it to work, obviously. I mean, people have been paying into it, so people are expecting to get money out of it. I understand that conversation. I understand that argument, and I don't necessarily disagree. But the thing is that we shouldn't have had it in the first place. So let's back up a little bit. And I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of technical things and pull out studies. I mean, we could do that, but again, this show is only a half an hour every day. And usually by the time I even start getting into it, it's already 10, 12, 15 minutes in. And I only got 15 minutes max left. So we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is just talk about it. It's like two human beings, me and you. We're going to talk about this. The problem we have is that for whatever reason, throughout history, throughout all of mankind, for thousands and thousands of years, everybody took care of everybody, right? We had people in place in our families that took care of us, right? You when you were born and you were a child, even nowadays, you have your parents. Your parents typically, supposed to take care of you, hopefully. And then when your parents were kids, their parents took care of them. But for thousands of years, when your grandparents got old, they didn't go into a nursing home. No, they didn't go into assisted living. They moved in with you. And that's still done in many places around the world. It's very common. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's not the government's job to take care of grandma and grandpa or mom and dad. It's just not, and nor should it be, right? We need to come to a place where we can agree that there's something called personal responsibility, right? We can't be handing off all our responsibilities and all of our bits and pieces of our life over to the government. Why? Because when you do that, you start losing a little bit of your life every time. And after a while, kind of where we're at now, you'll all of a sudden wake up one day and realize, my goodness, the government's in charge of everything in every aspect of my life. They can tell me where I can work, how I can work, who I can work with, how I can travel, how much money I have to pay, how much money I can make. They regulate all these things across the board. And not in every single aspect to the penny, but they do have a lot of influence, if not direct impact on regulations. The government was not created to fix everything. The government was not created to control everything. I know you might want that, but that's only because you don't know better. Like, there are better ways out there of doing things, right? Our country didn't have a central government when it was formed. It had people. It had people who were working together, like-minded people who wanted liberty and freedom to be able to live the lives that they wanted to without persecution, without coercion. And we had that for a very short period of time. And I understand there's an argument that can be made, absolutely 100%, for things like, well, we have to make sure we have things like first responders and the military and all these sort of things. And I kind of understand where you're coming from. I do. I mean, that's fairly logical. And we can have those things. But do you realize they don't need to cost as much as they do? It's true. Perfect example. Again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I kind of talked about it a few weeks ago, unrelated, on one of these podcasts, where we talked about recently SpaceX with Musk. He decided that he was going to bid for a government contract to build a spaceship that was going to bring some astronauts from the International Space Station back down to Earth. Because NASA, when they tried to devise a plan, said, well, we could probably do it, but it'll probably take us at least 12 years to get there. And it'll cost probably $36 billion to do this, just to develop it and make it work. Elon Musk said, okay, I got that. I'll try that. He did it in half the time, maybe not even half the time. And for not half the amount of money, no. Not even for half of the money, no. He did it for about $1 billion, probably even a little less. Why did this succeed? Why did this happen? Because of the free market, a true free market where people are allowed to do things without these heavy regulations, when people are allowed to be imaginative and creative and they're goal orientated, not just simply try to do something because the government's paying them, but actually they're the ones trying to do it. They want to do it faster. They want to do it better, and they want to do it cheaper. This is how the free market works. It actually does. And this concept can be spread all across our country, right? Everyone thinks like, well, there's no way if you were to make people voluntarily pay for things like first responders, fire departments, hospitals, police, or whatever we want to call them now. I mean, who even knows what we can even agree on when it comes to some type of police force, maybe even private police forces for your area. If you had to voluntarily pay for them, everyone will think, well, no, there's no way in the world anybody's going to pay for those things. It's just not going to happen. But I would challenge you on that. And this is why. Think of America, right? America is actually, when it comes to giving for charitable purposes, the United States literally gives more money than any other country in the world by far. In fact, the most conservative estimates I've heard is that America, compared to the number 2 country, which I don't even know who that is now because it kind of changes once in a while, where you give at least 4 times as much money to charity as the number 2 person, and sometimes as high as 7 or 8 times as much. And that's on top of already paying high taxes. And that money we give away would pay for the general services already for voluntary, needs. So if you were the average taxpayer, had to pay, half of what you normally do in taxes to cover the cost of having, police and firefighters and ambulances and hospitals, would you do it? I mean, if it literally cost you half as much, which it probably would, or somewhere around that ballpark, 50, 60%, even if it was 100% what you're paying in taxes now, but yet you have the freedom, to get different services and to get, have companies compete for better operations, if you will. They'll be able to compete in the sense that if you have a security force that isn't cutting it, you can hire a different security force. It's not like you have to deal with a bad police officer because they're in a union and part of a governmental job in your village or your city or your state or your county, and therefore you're stuck with them. Just doesn't work that way, right? Or we could even have larger, even if you want to have private companies, which I think would be okay, but let's say you don't want it. Let's have that argument. Let's say you don't want private companies. Then we could have, say, something like a countywide police, right? And then you would have sheriffs that are elected. They would still be paid for in the same sense, a voluntary sense. Or we can maybe agree on a simple fee that everyone would have to pay. Again, these accumulating together would probably cost half of what you're already paying in taxes, right? So you're not paying more in taxes. You're paying less right off the front. So I don't see a downside to it. Let's put it that way. I see no downside to it, right? So the problem is we spend too much money, and we have for a long time. This is nothing new, but we've really gotten crazy. Now, again, everyone say, well, we have COVID. We have to spend this money. We have to help these people. Yeah, true. Correct. So all the money we spent for this last time now, so whatever it's been, it was for a month or two, right? For to help our economy, we put in cash wise, allegedly about $2.2 trillion with other incentives and tax breaks and things that could down the road cost us $4, $5, $6 trillion in total. Of the $2.2 trillion, let's just take that number alone, just that number, of the $2.2 trillion that we spent, how much of it went to you? Just the everyday average Joe. Well, if you take the stimulus payment, which was a one-time payment, which was about $1,200 for every adult, and was it $500 per child, something like that, if I remember correctly, you're talking that costs somewhere around $250 billion, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there. Yeah, that's it. You figure in the money we were paying out for the $600 for the unemployment insurance that the federal government was not only matching but adding to the state level. I think that came out to another, I think it was $400 billion, so that was $650 billion. Let's round it up, say $700 billion out of $2.2 trillion. So not even 1/3, but roughly 1/3, a little less, went to you. Everything else went to businesses and projects and things that politicians thought were necessary. Now, how much more would it have been helpful to you had they taken just that 2.2 trillion and given you not the unemployment insurance payments and the stimulus, but stimulus say 4, 5, 6 times. We could have had a stimulus of 1,200 per adult and 500 per child every month for the last 6 months, and it wouldn't have cost us any more money. You see what I'm saying? We're spending our money in the wrong ways. Now everyone said, "Well, what about the businesses? What about the businesses?" And I understand there were some businesses that got helped by those PPP loans, but not many because a lot of the bigger companies came and took that money first that didn't need it. It's true. Okay. And you say, well, see, that's an argument right there that proves that we don't need free markets because companies are greedy, and some are true. Some companies are, but you have to understand they're just playing the system because it's the government in control, and these are the companies who are all in the back pockets of the politicians, anyways. These are the large companies, the conglomerates, your Amazons, your Nikes, your fill in the blank. These are the large companies. Those are the ones who are when you hear a term capitalism, right, in the US, let's just back this up a step. You hear the term capitalism all the time. But the thing is, in the United States, we don't have capitalism. We don't. We have what's called crony capitalism. We have a group of uber strong companies out there who are hiring lobbyists to get into the pockets of politicians and basically make them do their bidding. Now, I know you probably think, well, that can't be true. There's no way that's true. It is. Look it up. We're not going to spend the time now, but trust me, just look it up. It is so bizarre and so terrible. Now, another thing I want to talk about, this big government issue, isn't just the spending. It's the power that they have because they control the purse strings. And something else, I'm just going to lay this out here, and I'm probably going to do this several times in the next couple of months to remind you that the U.S. government, when they talk about spending money, they're not spending their money, because the U.S. government has no money. They're spending your money. When they give you a tax return, they're just returning some of your money back, right? They're not giving you anything. They're taking from you and deciding, well, here, I'm going to take $1,000. I'm going to give you, I'll give you back 200. How about that? And you feel all happy and good inside, but you shouldn't. You just shouldn't. But beyond the spending issue, which is a huge, huge problem, beyond the spending issue, we have other issues like, again, politics. The role of the president or politician in general was never meant to be a power position. It was meant to be a simple representation position where people would come in and they would different people would take turns being, a representative or a senator or the president, and they would do their job for a short number of years and then go back to their regular career. This is the way it was designed, right? It was never designed to be a lifelong position. Now, that's kind of what it's become. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get away from that anytime soon, if ever. So I understand that, right? I do. But that isn't to say that it isn't a problem. And this is here, I'm going to show you a few headlines. I'm going to see if you can notice maybe, what the problem might be. So here, this one says, Donald Trump says the economy will collapse and the rioters, anarchists, and looters will take over if Biden wins. And it could be an insult to our country if Kamala Harris becomes the first female president. Okay, that's loaded, right? I mean, I don't know I don't think he probably said that exactly, but he probably inferred it in many ways and made points to that someone could construe that. No problem. I believe that. I would never put that past Donald Trump. So, right, we have that issue. We have this issue of a president, a sitting president, making these willy-nilly threats about how the country is going to be destroyed if Biden gets in, if Harris gets in. People, it's the same people. It doesn't make a difference if you're Democrat or Republican. They're both two sides of the same coin, right? If you flip it on either side, you're still going to get a coin. A coin's still going to be attached to the other side. They're all going to still work together. Like I was saying the other day, many of these people are friendly towards each other off camera. It's true. If you go and you search for photos and video of, pick two major conflicting senators, Mitch McConnell, say, and Chuck Schumer, you're going to see them hanging out together once in a while. You will, right? It's absolutely true. We also have things like Donald Trump is failing to energize his core white voters. Poll analysis finds while Democrat backing groups are becoming more motivated. Again, they're trying to divide people, right? They're trying to divide people between left and right when there is no difference between the left and the right. They all want authority. They all want power, and they all want your money. That's it. That's all they want to do. That's all a Democrat wants to do. That's all a Republican wants to do. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there isn't a single good representative out there, or there isn't a good state legislation member, may it be on the Senate side or the representative side. I'm not saying that they don't exist. They're not like a make believe. And some people actually do have good intentions when they go into office. But what I am saying is it's a problem, right? It is an absolute problem because people keep falling for it again and again. The left and the right, they're the same people. They are. At the end of the day, and at the end of their days, they're all friends, right? They talk to each other. I'm not saying they're all buddy. I mean, there are people who do not like Nancy Pelosi. People like Nancy Pelosi do not like some people on the right. And, like I said, many people don't like Trump. I get it. Totally get it. But yeah, here's another headline. Trump campaign in Florida and extends oil drilling ban off Gulf Coast in gesture to voters as Sunshine State polls show him and Biden in 48-48 dead heat. So things are happening politically, right? They are doing things that are going to upset certain voters, but make other voters happy just to win a few extra votes because they know the state is close. So Trump, for all intents and purposes, seems as if he is playing favorites, surprise, surprise, and actually extending an oil drilling ban off the Gulf Coast, not because he cares, not because he wants the environment to be good, not because he doesn't want another oil spill or leak like we had for God knows how long. The Trump campaign in Florida extends the oil drill ban off Gulf Coast in gesture to voters as Sunshine State polls are basically in a dead heat, and he needs something. He figures, hey, there's enough people down here, especially when you get to southern Florida, right? People in Miami, people like that who don't want to even hear or see a rig off the shore. So I get it, right? I get it. And this was actually kind of tied into that. It says on the same day, President Donald Trump visited South Florida on the re-election campaign. Sorry, I am sitting too far away from this monitor. A poll from Miami showed him closing a gap among one group of voters in which he didn't do so well during the 2016 election. A new poll shows Trump and Democrat nominee Joe Biden almost in the dead heat among Hispanics in Miami-Dade County. So now things will be done to try to win those votes. And I get it. It's politics. You have to get elected to do something. I get it. Right? But don't think that if Biden comes in, it's going to be some amazing difference between what it is now and what it's been. Right? I mean, Trump might not be in office and you won't have to deal with that problem. But give it 3 months, all of a sudden Biden will fumble this or screw that up and everyone's going to hate him too. Not just the people on the right, people on his own party. It's just the way that works. And for some reason, miraculously, I'm sure Biden will make it through his 4 years, but let's say he gets elected and he doesn't make it through his 4 years. Maybe say he makes it 6 months and feels like he has a step down because he's having issues, which is a very realistic possibility. And Kamala Harris takes over as president. Everyone's going to be really excited. People are going to be energized. People are going to be stoked. And then what happens in 6 months or a year and a half when nothing gets done and nothing good happens, or she makes moves and they blow up in her face and there's a lot of fallout. She's just going to blame the press. She'll blame the Republicans. She'll blame Trump somehow. Well, it was his fault. He set something up, 5 years ago, 6 years ago that screwed me up now. You know what I mean? It's always going to be that game. Why? Because we keep voting for the same damn people. People, what are we doing? What is wrong with us? Again, I'm going to bring this up here right quick because it's important to see. Actually, I'll blow it up bigger so we can see. This is the U.S. debt clock, right? We are currently roughly at $26.737 trillion in some change in debt. That's how much money we already owe, regardless of how much more we're going to fall into debt by the end of this year and by the end of next year and the end of the following year. This is the issue. We have to stop spending money, right? The bigger our government gets, the more money they're going to spend. And to get that money, they're going to have to take it from you and from me. And they're just going to waste most of it. That's the thing, too. It's not even like the government is efficient, right? Like I was just saying before, a private company, SpaceX, did something in less than half the time and for roughly 1/36 of the cost. And that can be done again and again and again. The problem is government is the problem. They're in the way. We need to get government out of the way. Not more government, less government. Not more regulation, less regulation. Now, some regulation can make sense, sure. Pollution and things, I get that. But even some of that is irrational. And again, we don't have time for that because we're already at 26 minutes. But I do want to kind of point out a few different things. Like I keep saying, there are more than just two parties. There's more than just a Democrat Party and the Republican Party. They're out there. There's choices. I'm telling you, there are choices. I'm going to show you just a few. Now, me personally, as I'm sure you already know, if you haven't seen my show on the weekend, The Libertarian Hour, you've heard me talk about libertarian issues and libertarian-minded things and liberty, liberty, liberty here. I actually recommend you check out the Libertarian Party. You can go to lp.org. And I'm not telling you to vote for them. I'm just telling you, take a look, right? Just go on their website, read their platform, read their views on the issues. You know, dive a little bit deeper than just some headline you read on CNN or Fox News. Like, do something for yourself. Do good for yourself. Do good for yourself and your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your children or your neighbors or your siblings. Do something good, right? Expand your mind. Test the waters. Find out what's out there. And I'm going to tell you, this is a great party. I think they're on the right path. In fact, I think they're on the only path. And we'll talk about that more in depth in the future. But there are other parties out there, and these are just a couple I'm going to list because there's more, but these are other ones that are larger right now. And like, for instance, the Green Party. Here's the Green Party. It's at gp.org, right? Can't get much more simpler, right? gp.org. I don't know much about them. I don't know if they're good. I'm not promoting them in any way, shape, or form, but you should check them out. You should check out the Libertarian Party, and you should check out the Green Party. And another party you could check out is the Constitution Party. Again, I'm not endorsing them. I don't. They might be good. They might have good people there. They might have some pretty good ideas. I haven't done a deep dive myself, and that's why I kind of brought these websites up, because I'm going to do a deeper dive probably before tomorrow or maybe by the end of the week into these two other parties. But I've already pretty much said I know the Libertarian way is the right way because I can see it. I can see the arguments because the arguments have been getting laid out for decades and decades. And they make sense. And the older I get, the more sense they make. But that being said, check out these websites. Check out these parties. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid. I'm not saying you have to change. I'm not saying you have to stop being a Democrat and become a Libertarian. I'm not saying you have to stop being a Republican and go to the Constitution Party. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's more than one coin, right? Democrats and Republicans are the two sides of the same coin. But if you ever dig your hand in your pocket once in a while and pull it out, you're going to have a number of coins to choose from, aren't you? Different sizes, different shapes, different values. Look at them. See what you can find. You might be surprised. You might really be surprised. Well, with that little tidbit, that's what I'm going to leave you with today. But I hope you guys enjoy the show. I hope you, again, I know I said it yesterday, but I'm going to say it again. I hope you really did have a really good Labor Day weekend and a good Labor Day, if not weekend. And I hope you're having a good week so far. We're early in the week. It's only Tuesday, still 3 more days ago. And I also want to remind everyone that I did do this amazing roundtable discussion on Sunday as part of the Libertarian Hour. So it's on the same channel as this. Find the video. If you're on Twitter, check it out on Twitter. But I really do recommend watching it. It's only an hour, and there's some fantastic discussion in there. We talk about what is libertarianism. And of course, we can't cover everything in an hour, but we just try to dig deep enough where we hope that we answered some questions and maybe dispelled some fallacies. So, all right, everyone, you guys have a great night. And well, we'll talk to you tomorrow.